Italy, I'm James Longman. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Tonight, Hunter Biden guilty on all counts. The president's son convicted of unlawfully purchasing a firearm. What's next for Hunter Biden following the conviction and the specifics about the charges? The president makes his first comments after the verdict was announced. We'll bring you what he said and the potential impact of the case on Biden's chances in November. Plus, the new video showing the moments hostages were rescued from Hamas after 8 months in captivity. The new push for both sides to accept a ceasefire deal. And medical debt is responsible for 66% of bankruptcies across the country, with more than 15 million Americans holding $49 billion in debt, and it's hampering their credit scores. Tonight, we take a dive into the new rule that could change all that. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We have a lot of news to get to tonight, but we begin with a historic verdict. Hunter Biden found guilty of 3 felony gun charges, becoming the first child of a sitting president convicted of a crime. The president's son convicted of lying on a federal form when he said he wasn't using drugs at the time he purchased a Colt revolver in October of 2018. Inside the courtroom, the moment the verdict was read, and in the jury room, we hear what evidence mattered the most. Hunter Biden writing he is more grateful for the love and support than he is disappointed by the outcome. Still, President Biden vows not to commute his sentence.
Have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Writing in a statement, I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. The president back home in Delaware tonight with a warm embrace for his son on the tarmac. We have it all covered. Rachel Scott at the White House, Brian Buckmeyer with the legal fallout, and Chris Whipple with the intimate details. Terry Moran leads us off from the courthouse.
After 3 hours of deliberations, the jury in Hunter Biden's federal criminal trial reached a verdict. The defendant raced back to the courthouse to hear guilty on all 3 felony counts for lying about his drug use on a gun application in 2018 and for possessing a gun while abusing drugs, the first ever criminal convictions for the child of a sitting U.S. president. At first, Hunter Biden appeared stunned when he heard the word guilty. Then he nodded, patted his lawyer on the back, and hugged his legal team and his wife. Moments later, Hunter walked out of the courthouse, hand in hand with his wife Melissa on one side and his mother, the First Lady, on the other, determined to show her support. The First Lady was in that courtroom nearly every day of the trial, missing just 1 day for the D-Day ceremonies in Normandy before flying right back to Delaware. Minutes after court adjourned, a statement from President Biden acknowledging the verdict. I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. So many families who have had loved ones battle addiction understand the feeling of pride seeing someone you love come out the other side and be so strong and resilient in recovery. And I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change that. Moments after the verdict, I met with juror number 10 in the garage. He revealed a remarkable scene inside the jury room when they started deliberating. A jury split right down the middle, 6 and 6.
Believe it or not, it was a split vote.
6-6.
6-6.
That was the first vote.
That was the first vote.
But all that changed when they talked it over. Juror 10 says Hunter Biden knew he was an addict when he filled out that background check. Some of the critical evidence for him, Hunter's own text message sent the day after he bought that gun, saying he was waiting for a dealer named Mookie.
If you're an addict, you're an addict.
Right.
This is something that sticks with you for the rest of your life.
So you didn't buy the notion that for those few days around the purchase of the gun, he wasn't abusing drugs?
No, not at all.
Juror number 8, Elijah Lewis Guy, agrees.
For you as juror, what was the most important evidence for you?
The important evidence was the form, what he put down in the form at that moment, and knowing his history, that he was a user addict.
And as for the historic nature of this trial,
You do know that you convicted the president's son. How do you feel about that?
I don't care. I shouldn't say that. It's unfortunate that he's convicted, but him being the son is not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that he did a bad thing, and actions have consequences.
Today, the special counsel who led the investigation into Hunter Biden, the U.S. attorney appointed by former President Trump and kept on the case by the Biden administration, said even Hunter Biden isn't above the law.
This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction, his choice to lie on a government form when he bought a gun, and the choice to then possess that gun.
President Biden also said today he will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal, echoing what he told David last week in Normandy.
As we sit here in Normandy, your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Tonight, the president arriving back in Delaware, greeted by Hunter and his wife and their son, Beau. For Hunter Biden, it was a long day of reckoning. He faces a maximum of 25 years in prison, though experts say he's unlikely to receive anything like that. And it was also, for a man who says he has finally made it out from the darkness of his addictions, a day of gratitude. I am more grateful today for the love and support I experienced this last week from Melissa, my family, my friends, and my community than I am disappointed by the outcome. Recovery is possible by the grace of God, and I am blessed to experience that gift one day at a time.
Hunter Biden appearing to take it all in stride. Terry Moran joins us now from Wilmington, Delaware. Terry, what other insight did you learn from your conversations with jurors?
You know, Lindsay, it was fascinating. They say that on that first 6-6 vote, where they were deadlocked on that first vote, there were some jurors who really just wanted to take a good, hard, long look at the evidence and the law. And then the final issue in that jury room turned out to be the one that the defense raised. Did Hunter Biden knowingly lie when he filled out that federal form and bought that gun? And they took a look at the evidence in the case and decided that he did. Lindsay?
Making that decision unanimously there. Terry Moran, our thanks to you. And we turn now to our Rachel Scott, who's at the White House for us. Rachel, hours after the verdict, President Biden made a previously scheduled speech on gun control and did not mention his son's gun conviction. How does the president plan to handle this personal moment for his family?
Privately, Lindsay, this is deeply personal for the president and his family. Tonight in his statement, he does acknowledge that Hunter Biden, his son, has battled addiction, noting that he's made it out on the other side and acknowledging that it's something that many American families go through. The president has really tried to keep his distance from this case, but tonight in a statement, he does say that he loves his son, that he supports him, and also that he does ultimately respect the outcome of this verdict. It's a sharp contrast to his rival, former President Donald Trump, who continues to insist that the justice system is being weaponized against him, and it's a sign perhaps of what's still to come in this campaign. As for Donald Trump, as of now, he has not commented yet on the guilty verdict of Hunter Biden. Lindsay.
Rachel Scott from the White House. Thanks so much, Rachel. And former President Trump's campaign spokesperson responded to Hunter Biden's conviction today, attempting to put the focus back on President Biden, saying the trial has been, quote, nothing more than a distraction from other crimes they allege the president and his family have committed. And joining us now to talk more about the legal fallout is ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer. Brian, thank you for joining us. Let's start with a question on many people's minds: sentencing. Hunter Biden is 54 years old. He could face up to 25 years in prison. How likely is that?
Well, thank you for having me. In terms of how likely it is, it's unlikely he's going to get the full 25 years because you have to think about how we get to that number. The false statement charges, there being 2, maximum 10 years in prison. And the unlawful possession charge, maximum of 5. And so when you stack them up, yes, you get to 25 years. But I think it's also important to look at the fact that there's no what we call mandatory minimum. And so you can go as low as 0 days or 0 years in jail. You also have to think that there are what's called federal sentencing guidelines. And someone who has no criminal record in their 50s and for whatever good and bad they may have done. And the fact that this case at its heart is about addiction and substance abuse, I don't anticipate Hunter Biden for a nonviolent crime to be facing double digits or anywhere close to 25 years in prison, if at all.
The prosecutor repeatedly urged the jury to take the defendant's word for it and played audio clips from Hunter Biden's own book in court. How big of a role do you think that Hunter's own words played in the guilty verdict?
I think it plays a big role. When we talk about criminal actions, there are two components. There's the physical act, we call the actus reus, and then the mental intent, or the mens rea. And as you pointed out earlier on, a big part of what the prosecutor focused on is whether or not Hunter Biden knowingly made false statements and unlawfully possessed his firearm. And because Hunter Biden didn't take the stand, and they don't have any kind of like pre-recording tapes where Hunter Biden says, I know what I did on such and such date when I signed this document, they had to go to the text messages and portions of his memoir to really get that knowingly part for the prosecution to get a conviction here.
Do you think that Hunter would have been charged if his last name wasn't Biden?
I think that's part of it, especially when you look at how the case went to a plea deal and then ultimately fell apart. The reason why I say part of it is these aren't charges we typically see on their own. And what I mean by that is you don't typically just see making a false statement on a federal document to get a gun. Usually that gun is used in the commission of a crime, and then the government will tack on these additional charges because the person's, for example, a felon, or they know that they're a known drug user, and they bought the gun illegally and then used it. You typically don't see these charges in of themselves, and I think if you didn't see the large investigation into Joe Biden, which then unearthed a lot of these facts, you wouldn't typically see a case like this. So I think in part, yes, it is because he's a Biden, but in large part, it's because the facts seem to fit the charges. And
what's the status of the other charges that he now faces in Florida?
So
I'm sorry, in California. In California.
Yeah. Yeah, so the charges in California involve tax evasion. And we saw a plea deal trying to get played out for those as well, where both the falsification charges with a gun and taxes were going to get resolved all in one. And so now we're anticipating that Hunter Biden will be facing the tax evasion charges out of California sometime soon, I think later this year.
And are those charges punishable by prison time?
Yes, I believe the tax evasion charges are somewhere between 5 and 10 years, a little bit less than some of the charges combined in the falsification charges. But to my understanding, those also have a same 0 minimum. And so he's potentially looking at the same level, decades in prison, but the ability to negotiate something much less if he either takes a plea deal, tries to wrap up the tax case with this gun case, or ultimately goes to trial.
All right, Brian Buckmeyer, our thanks to you as always.
My pleasure.
Our next guest knows the inner workings of the Biden White House intimately, having had extraordinary access to the Oval Office for more than a year. Chris Whipple, the author of The Fight of His Life Inside Joe Biden's White House, joins us now. Thank you so much, Mr. Whipple, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Knowing all that you do about how President Biden works in a crisis, what conversations do you think he's having with his advisors now in light of the verdict for his son?
Well, first of all, I think we have to think of this as, for Joe Biden, it's a personal tragedy and it's a political windfall. Now, I don't mean to suggest that they're sitting around in the Oval Office talking about the politics of this. I think quite the opposite. I think that Joe Biden's advisors are really reluctant to go anywhere near this subject with him, except to express their support for him. And I think personally, obviously, it's hard to overstate the bond between Joe and Hunter Biden. This goes back to 1979, when that horrible car crash, when Joe Biden lost his wife and infant daughter, and Hunter and Beau were severely injured. It's no surprise that the family has rallied around, and Jill Biden's been at the trial. So, look, I think this is going to be a very painful, difficult personal ordeal for Joe Biden, and I think his advisors will be watching him closely, but I don't think they'll be trying to tell him what to do.
As we heard a few moments ago, the president has vowed to respect the decision of the jury. But how do you think that this verdict will impact him politically?
Well, I think there's nothing but upside for Joe Biden in this verdict and in this whole experience with Hunter, if we're talking strictly politically, because number one, obviously, there was nothing aired in this trial that implicated Joe Biden in any way, in any kind of wrongdoing. Number two, I think there's nothing but upside in seeing a father express his support and his love for his son, and also his understanding of his addiction, which is something that affects so many families all over the country. And third, and I think most importantly, and we really saw it dramatized today, the fact that Hunter Biden saw the inside of a courtroom, and especially now that he's been convicted, just gives the lie to the notion that Joe Biden is somehow some puppeteer who is weaponizing the Department of Justice to go after his enemies and spring his friends. Because if that were the case, and if Joe Biden was interested in pulling strings, Hunter Biden never would have seen the inside of a courtroom. And I think, this verdict speaks eloquently to that.
And furthermore, Joe Biden has said that he will not pardon his son, even prior to this outcome. Did that surprise you?
Not one bit. And I think, the clarity, the moral clarity of that declaration, when he was asked on ABC whether he would pardon his son, number one, he said no. And so I think you couldn't ask for a more dramatic contrast between Joe Biden's response to his son's trial and Donald Trump's handling of his own. If, on the other hand, it is a choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, as he famously likes to say, don't choose between me and the Almighty, choose between me and the alternative. If it's a choice, then I think Joe Biden wins this election. And I think today's verdict and Joe Biden's handling of it, with grace and acceptance of the rule of law up against Donald Trump's pique and resentment and rejection of the rule of law, Joe Biden comes out way ahead.
Chris Whipple, we thank you so much for your insight, for your time. His book, The Fight of His Life, is now available on paperback. We'll have more on the big fight over increasingly small slices of electorate that could determine the 2024 election and dive into the latest 538 forecast coming up just ahead. 8 migrants from Tajikistan in Central Asia who entered the U.S. illegally through the border with Mexico have been arrested in Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and New York, all suspected of having ties to ISIS. Our Aaron Katersky has the latest.
Tonight, 8 migrants from Central Asia who entered the United States illegally through the southern border are in federal custody over suspected ties to the terror group ISIS. The individuals from the former Soviet Republic of Tajikistan came to the U.S. since the end of last year. They were vetted at the time. Law enforcement sources told ABC News authorities then uncovered information raising suspicions about possible affiliations with ISIS. At least some of the individuals were monitored, and eventually all were detained in New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. The FBI has specifically warned Islamist radicals might try to access the United States from the Mexican border.
There is a particular network where some of the overseas facilitators of the smuggling network have ISIS ties that we're very concerned about.
Earlier this year, Russia arrested migrants from Tajikistan in connection with an attack on a concert hall outside Moscow that killed scores of people.
Aaron Katersky joins us now. Aaron, what happens now?
These migrants will probably be deported, Lindsay. We're told there's not enough evidence to charge them, but the FBI raised concerns to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They have the power to hold these 8 Tajik migrants and then kick them out of the country. Lindsay?
All right, we'll be watching as that develops. Aaron Katersky, our thanks to you. Next tonight, to the secret recordings of Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, Justice Samuel Alito, and Alito's wife. What the audio reveals, and the woman who recorded the conversations is defending herself tonight. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the new secret undercover audio revealing comments from 2 Supreme Court justices. Liberal filmmaker Lauren Windsor allegedly taping conversations with Justice Samuel Alito and Chief Justice John Roberts while posing as a Christian conservative at a gala earlier this month in an apparent effort to engage them in a culture wars debate. ABC News has not authenticated the audio, and it appears the clips posted by Windsor on social media have been edited. In one recording, Windsor poses a leading question to Alito, a staunch conservative and a devout Catholic, about the political divide in this country.
I don't know that we can negotiate with the left in the way that needs to happen for the polarization situation to end. I think that it's a matter of, like, winning.
I think you're probably right. I think one side or the other is going to win. I don't know. I mean, there can be a way of working, a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be compromised.
Windsor continues to press Alito.
I think that the solution really is, like, winning the moral argument. Like, people in this country who believe in God have got to keep fighting for that, to return our country to a place of godliness.
Oh, I agree with you.
At the same dinner, Windsor approaches Chief Justice Roberts, who's known as a moderate conservative, suggesting to him that America is a Christian nation. Roberts allegedly pushing back.
Yeah, I don't know that we live in a Christian nation. I know a lot of Jewish and Muslim friends who would say maybe not. And it's not our job to do that. It's our job to decide the cases as best we can.
But the recordings also shine a spotlight on the wife of Samuel Alito, recently embroiled in controversy after photos of two flags carried by some Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, flown at their homes, were published by the New York Times. Martha Ann Alito allegedly complaining about having to look at pride flags.
You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the pride flag for the next month.
We spoke to the woman behind the recordings about her tactics, which some have characterized as misleading. She says she understands the criticism she's facing, but asks how else the public can get answers from the justices.
I really felt that it was the only way I was going to be able to get any information. The Supreme Court is shrouded in secrecy.
Pierre Thomas joins us now. Pierre, any comment from the justices?
Lindsay, we reached out to the justices for comment, and they've yet to respond. And Lindsay, as you know, so many Supreme Court rulings expected in the coming days, including some involving gun control, abortion, and whether former President Trump has immunity from prosecution, Lindsay.
People waiting with bated breath for those determinations there. Pierre Thomas from the Supreme Court. Thanks so much, Pierre. There's renewed push for peace while Hamas and Israel have both said that they're open to a U.S.-backed plan that would include the safe release of all hostages. Neither has formally accepted it. ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge has the latest from Tel Aviv.
Just days after the dramatic hostage rescue, with Israeli commandos storming 2 apartments in central Gaza, freeing 4 hostages under heavy gunfire. Today, those hostages now out of the hospital and back with their families. It comes as Hamas responded to a ceasefire proposal outlined by President Biden that would free the remaining hostages, including 8 Americans. Tonight, Hamas demanding stronger assurances for a permanent ceasefire and the full withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip. A senior Israeli official accusing Hamas of rejecting the outline of the proposal. Israel saying it will only agree to a permanent ceasefire when it has dismantled Hamas. Secretary of State Antony Blinken pointing the finger at Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar.
It really is down to one person at this point. We'll see what comes from them and from him.
And according to a new report in the Wall Street Journal, Sinwar believes Hamas has gained the upper hand over Israel, saying, "We have the Israelis right where we want them," in leaked messages. In another message, Sinwar suggesting the horrific civilian death toll in Gaza are necessary sacrifices. And Lindsay, on that push for a ceasefire, the White House saying it is still evaluating Hamas's response, the US still hoping it can bridge the gap between the two sides. Lindsay?
Tom, thank you. A federal judge has blocked Florida's transgender youth care ban for minors, calling it unconstitutional. In his decision, Judge Robert L. Hinkle said transgender opponents are free to hold their beliefs, but they cannot discriminate against transgender people. This means puberty blockers and hormone therapy cannot be banned. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill last month that banned gender-affirming medical care. In a statement to ABC News, DeSantis' office said that they would appeal that ruling. The FBI is out with its quarterly crime report for the first 3 months of this year. Overall, violent crime dropped more than 15% compared to last year. Murder dropped 26%, rape more than 25% as well, and robbery is down nearly 18%. Attorney General Merrick Garland called the numbers historic. A singer from the South Korean boy band BTS will be discharged from the military today after serving 18 months. Military service is mandatory for men in South Korea, and 6 other members of the band are currently serving. Fans anxiously anticipate their return, and there's buzz that Jin will release a solo album this fall. South Korea has since changed the law on military conscription, so pop artists who elevate the national reputation can postpone their service. And we still have much more to get to here on Prime tonight. See the tense moments as a driver has seconds to make a decision as a train comes barreling toward his tractor trailer. But next, what this year's election could mean for the balance of power in Congress and why it can't be won using the same guidebook as 2020.
If you were coming of age in the 1980s, the Brat Pack was near the center of your cultural awareness. But for those of us experiencing it from the inside, the Brat Pack was something very different. On June 10th, 1985, New York Magazine published Hollywood's Brat Pack. I just remember seeing that cover and thinking, oh. From then on, my career and the career of everyone who was involved was branded as the Brat Pack.
I'm really sorry that article had to come out.
I've never talked to anybody about what that was like. So I thought it might be interesting to try and contact everyone who was in the Brat Pack. Hey, Emilio Estevez. This is Andrew McCarthy calling you. Hey, Allie. Hey, Demi. Hey, Molly. Let's call Rob. Hello. Judd? Me? You around? You were not interested in talking about the Brat Pack for years.
I turned everything down.
How come you're talking to me?
Because you called me. It was time that we clear the air on a couple of things.
I love your stuff, Bob. Hey, thank you. I hated the Brat Pack for decades. What a disaster. If you could have the Brat Pack name not exist, would you?
It really irritated me. They said, what's more important to you, the movie or your life? And I said,
the movie!
Andrew.
Have you talked to the others? The others, like, again, it feels like a cult or something.
Yeah. Why did we take it as an offense?
Well,
As opposed to
like
the
brat.
Because we were young.
We were afraid we were brats, you know? Are you in the Brat Pack?
I'm Brat Pack adjacent.
That's what I was saying.
I am not in the Brat Pack.
Crush on you back in the day?
You did not, Andrew. No, you did not.
Being in the Brat Pack not only changed all of our lives, it changed what entertainment is. I mean, I'm not going to say we were the Beatles or anything.
Well, we didn't fill Shea Stadium. There were moments.
We could have. 1985, I think we could have.
So what are you filming?
Oh, we're just doing this documentary.
What's it about?
Ancient history.
Wherever news breaks, ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
How do you feel? Gay as hell.
I see you.
I love it here.
Is this real?
100%.
I think you still look at me that way.
Will you marry me?
I want pageantry that takes months and months to plan.
My girls have a fun.
Dedicated to voting for the Republican on the ballot, and which will probably be Trump, but I really wish it was Nikki Haley. I think it's just time to move on from Trump, but definitely time to move on from Joe Biden.
As the parent of 3 30-somethings, and I know that their friends are really not Biden fans and not Trump fans, and they may sit home for the entire election.
It is Tuesday, so that means your voice, your vote 2024. And we just heard from voters in the potential swing state of Nevada, where primaries are being held today. The U.S. Senate race there is expected to be close, and that could especially tip the balance of power in the Senate. That's why we saw former President Trump in Las Vegas on Sunday, where he held a rally and threw in his last-minute support for Nevada Senate candidate Sam Brown, perhaps giving him a critical edge in a close Republican primary. Let's bring in ABC News political director Rick Klein to talk about the broader presidential race and some new forecasting tools from our partners at 538.
Lindsay, I want to start with the 538 polling average because we've been talking about that for a while. And here's the latest snapshot. Donald Trump up by about 1 point nationally over Joe Biden. That's actually a little bit narrower of an edge than a few weeks ago, right around the time of the guilty verdicts. You start to see the race settle in as razor close as it's always been. But now for the first time, today we're able to talk about the 538 forecast. And this is what the big number shows. 53 out of 100 chance that Joe Biden wins, 47 out of 100 that Donald Trump wins. And how do they do this? Well, it's not just a polling average. They take into account other factors, economic conditions, also the likelihood that things are going to change between now and Election Day, and then they run 1,000 different simulations. In some of these simulations, you actually see a big electoral landslide as a possibility, but that is a remote possibility because of where we see this race. That is basically a coin flip of a race, and the reason is the critical battleground states themselves are essentially coin flips. Right now, Joe Biden, according to 538, with a very narrow edge in the upper Midwest battlegrounds, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, the so-called blue wall. That's probably Biden's best path, and he's got to hold on to that advantage because right now he is trailing very narrowly in the forecasts in Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. That leaves Joe Biden with the narrowest of paths to win the presidency. If he just holds those states, he can potentially hold on. But it doesn't take much of a shift for things to change. So this is a scenario that just assumes that everything turns out the way it did last time. The same kind of voter turnout, the same kind of vote choices. Biden wins, just like he did in 2020. But if you shift things just a little bit, we talked a lot about youth voters. If younger voters shift about 10% less likely to vote, and they start to look at third-party candidates by about 4 different percentage point difference, look what happens. You start to see some of the major flips, Wisconsin going to Donald Trump, Arizona going to Donald Trump. He holds on to those states in the South. He hits more than 270 electoral votes. Another scenario to play out, let's say Black and Latino voters, which have been problematic for Joe Biden. We've seen the campaign focus on them. Let's say they go just 10% less to Biden and instead they vote for Trump. Then you see an even more dramatic jump. Even states like Pennsylvania, in addition to Wisconsin and Nevada and Arizona, all going to Donald Trump under that scenario, leaving Trump well north of 270. The last point I would make about third-party candidates. We've seen a lot of focus on them this year, and 538 sees about no chance that any third-party candidate actually wins the presidency. But they actually see a 2 in 3 chance that one or more third-party candidates, like Bobby Kennedy Jr., get more votes than the difference between Trump and Biden in some of those critical battlegrounds. So there's a big potential for third-party candidates to play spoiler, though it's not clear who that necessarily benefits. Lindsay?
A lot of factors that could tip this either way. Rick, thank you. And for an even deeper dive on how this year's election will differ from 2020, let's bring in our Jay O'Brien from D.C. Jay, we saw a near record turnout in 2020 thanks to more people voting by mail during the pandemic. And Rick alluded to this, but it seems that there are so many factors that could lead voters to sit this one out.
And look, some of those things that did lead to that record turnout in 2020 are still somewhat baked into the electoral system. When you talk about voting by mail, there were states that during the pandemic enacted laws to make it easier to vote by mail. And then, of course, there was just a general sense of more people getting comfortable with the idea of voting by mail. And certainly some of that is all still baked into the system. So you do have the potential for that to increase voter turnout, or at least try to keep it at close to those 2020 levels. But working against that is enthusiasm really on both sides of the aisle. You've got Democrats, particularly progressive Democrats, who do not like President Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war, who have been vocal about that. There's been a movement amongst Democrats to vote against President Biden on primary ballots to show that they are upset with him, called that uncommitted movement. So certainly that is something that could have an impact on Democrat enthusiasm. On the other side of the aisle for the Trump ticket, you've got Republicans, particularly moderates, who may not like this criminal conviction that he faced in New York. Certainly, we've seen it have zero to no impact with Trump's base voters, but how does that relate to moderate Republicans is still an open question. And then, of course, you've got the 2 oldest candidates in history duking it out, and that could be a significant drag on the ballot. There was an AP poll out in April, Lindsay, that found just about half of Americans, 49%, 40%, said that if they could replace both of these candidates on the ballot, they would. So you do have a serious potential for a lack of enthusiasm this year.
Right, about half of Americans there. And Trump, of course, recently said that he'd announce his pick for VP during the Republican National Convention a month from now. Who are his top choices? And just having someone new on the ticket, might that factor alone turn out more Republican voters?
Oh, absolutely. And so ABC News has learned that there are 3 Republicans who have been requested for documents by the Trump campaign as part of VP vetting. One is Doug Burgum, who's the governor of North Dakota. The other is Marco Rubio. And then the third is J.D. Vance. And then, of course, there are others as well, like Byron Donalds, who's a congressman from Florida, like Elise Stefanik, who's a member of House Republican leadership, like Tim Scott, who's a senator from South Carolina. The list goes on and on. So that 3 that we know of who've had documents requested of them, they may not be all-encompassing. Now, when you talk about could a vice presidential candidate propel enthusiasm, we've certainly seen vice presidential candidates change the calculus of campaigns in the past. Think back to Paul Ryan, for instance, when he joins the Romney campaign and he really reignites some energy into that campaign. Even Sarah Palin changes the calculus of the McCain campaign, and you and I can have a longer conversation at a different time whether or not that was beneficial for the McCain campaign or not. But certainly, vice presidential candidates can increase the temperature, can increase the enthusiasm. But even these vice presidential candidates would tell you, make no mistake about it, when you're joining a Trump campaign, it is still a Trump campaign, and all eyes are on Trump. So even as we've seen when they've gone to court with Trump and defended him in the press, they are very much expecting to and playing a supporting role to the former president in this election.
Jay O'Brien, with all his infinite political wisdom, we thank you so much, as always. And if you're an undecided voter still considering who you might support this November, we want to hear from you. Find out more by scanning the QR code right there on the screen, and ABC News may contact you to be part of our election coverage. And we still have much more to get to here on Prime. Coming up, the disturbing details revealed in a report about the toxic pollution levels in a region known as Cancer Alley. But next, a new change could improve credit scores for millions. We take a closer look at the plan for medical debt by the numbers.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters.
Is this our combat operations center?
We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions.
Operational nuclear reactor.
So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it.
Not a tear in it.
How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love this.
Great work.
Hi.
Where are you? Where are you?
Appreciate you.
Thank you, David. Good to meet you.
Ismail? David.
David.
Yes, yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
Watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
Hi, I'm Andy. And I'm Sabrina. And we're moms, juggling tons of stuff every day, like all you moms out there. And you know what we love? Really love? Pop culture. So what happens when being obsessed with pop culture collides with being a mom? You get us. So listen now to our new podcast, Pop Culture Moms, wherever you get your podcasts.
This week, the best place to start your day is GMA.
This is awesome.
With Tony Hale live. Plus, get ready to say yes, chef, with Iowa Debris on GMA.
If you could describe Diddy in one word, what would it be?
Mogul.
Powerful.
Hustler. Broken. And I feel like that's I feel kind saying that.
He definitely reached the mountaintop, and it seems like he's falling from it.
Disturbing video that shows Sean Diddy Combs kicking, shoving, and dragging his ex-girlfriend.
She was scared of him.
I think so.
Were you scared of him?
Yeah. My sense was that everybody around him was afraid of him.
Afraid of Sean Combs?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's explosive.
Diddy's Downfall, now streaming on Hulu.
All right, let the dogs out, please.
I don't think he's gonna give you a hard time.
Even if he gives me a hard time, I'm the right guy.
You can handle it.
I want to make sure that we all learn together.
Calm, confident.
Calm, confident, calm, surrender.
Everything that he's taught has become a reality.
We are so grateful and impressed.
I feel like crying. You changed our world.
It is a beautiful thing to see. As you rehabilitate the dog, you also rehabilitate you.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
It's lunchtime in America, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
You know, that sounds pretty good.
Give it to me. Your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture, with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food. GMA 3, what you need to know. A third hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, afternoons.
For everything you need to know. I love that.
Reporting from the Normandy coast for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, I'm David Muir. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back, everyone. The Biden administration and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau are proposing a major change that could help millions of Americans with their credit scores, potentially banning medical debt from showing up on their credit reports. Let's take a look at how impactful this could be by the numbers. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says 15 million Americans have medical bills on their credit reports. That's more than $49 billion in debt among that group, and an average balance of $3,100 on the reports. This comes 2 years after major credit report companies like Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian decided to stop reporting certain medical bills in collections. But the proposed rule could give a 20-point boost on average to the typical borrower, according to the CFPB. The agency also estimates 22,000 more people would be able to get approved for safe mortgages each year under the rule. The proposal has been in the works since September and could go into effect sometime next year. And we still have much more ahead here on Prime tonight. Imagine Dragons frontman Dan Reynolds tells us about the band's new album and how they've created a safe space for the LGBTQ community. And why you won't see 16-time Nathan's hot dog eating contest winner Joey Chestnut at this year's competition.
I experienced a lot of rejection, a lot of heartache. I'm a tough woman, but it's not easy. I have my days where you gotta do whatever you can to crawl out of those dark holes. You're gonna feel lonely. There was a lot of personal stuff in my life that was really falling apart. It's taken me a really long time to even get to this moment. I feel like every pair of bell bottoms all come with a different story. 19 years old, pulling up to Nashville, I was terrified.
Not everybody makes it.
I was a fish out of water. At times, I was too country for country.
You were living in a trailer for a while.
I remember sitting out in this camper trailer, crying my eyes out, thinking, is it ever gonna happen? But Mom and Daddy didn't raise no quitters. I have had the hardest 2 months of my life. My daddy has not been doing well. We've been through a lot these past few years, and it kind of makes me emotional. Y'all gonna see me cry again. I was scrolling on TikTok. I noticed a few videos of my butt that had gone viral. At first, I was laughing. And I'm like, these people ain't right. No matter what size you are beautiful.
Being a woman in country music can be tough.
And the CMA Award for Album of the Year
for Female Vocalist of the Year,
Entertainer of the Year
goes to Lainey
Wilson.
That was a mic drop.
The Entertainer of the Year, baby.
Lainey's album, Bell Bottom Country, changed the game.
There ain't nothing better than this. Hold my beer, watch this.
What she is doing right now is changing country music.
I do see the bell bottoms and the hat as my superhero outfit.
Go Lainey!
It's mind-blowing. It's magic. I'm proud of myself. I really am. I have worked my ass off. Now it's time to see what's next. That's what I'm talking about! Woo!
You're watching America's #1 streaming news. Keep streaming with ABC News Live. Now streaming on Hulu.
I'm a rock and roll star. I'm not a saint. I'm John Bon Jovi.
John Bon Jovi. The new special, What You Have Not Yet Seen. John Bon Jovi with Michael Strahan. Now streaming on Hulu. With so much at stake in our world right now, more Americans turn here to David than anywhere else. And now, America's most trusted, most watched newscast, ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir, is available to you on YouTube.
The heart-stopping moments as a train comes toward a truck with the driver still inside. An alarming update on a region known as Cancer Alley. And hogs gone wild, the unusual sight on a highway. These stories and much more in tonight's Rundown.
Intense video shows the moments a tractor-trailer driver barely escaped before a train crashed into his truck. The eyewitness who took the video said he pulled up behind the trailer as it was stalled on the tracks. He warned the driver to get out of the truck as the train blared its horn. The collision tossed the truck over, sending debris flying everywhere. The Baltimore Shipping Channel, where the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed, has fully reopened following the catastrophic collision in March. The channel has gradually opened to traffic as crews work to clear 50,000 tons of bridge wreckage and remove the 980-foot-long and 158-foot-wide container ship from the crash site. 1 year after Elizabeth Holmes started her 11-year sentence at a prison in Texas, her attorneys are arguing for an appeal, claiming prosecutors failed to prove that Holmes tricked investors while knowing full well that her Theranos blood testing equipment did not work. She was convicted of 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy in January 2022. A Johns Hopkins University study found high levels of toxicity in a region of southeast Louisiana known as Cancer Alley. The study, conducted by a team of environmental engineers using a mobile air testing lab, found that the levels of ethylene oxide exceeded EPA estimates for the region. The researchers found concentrations of the dangerous gas was more than 1,000 times higher than the accepted risk for lifetime exposure. Ethylene oxide is a gas that's used to sterilize medical equipment and in the production of other chemicals. It's unsafe for humans even at low levels, and at high levels has been linked to increased risk of cancer for people who live near facilities that use the gas and for those who handle it directly. ABC News' Ginger Z traveled to the area in 2022.
We had clean air and we could drink water from the hydrant. We can't do that anymore. You can't go outside and sit on your front porch for a long period of time because of the pollution, the smell.
The EPA and the Department of Justice have filed a complaint against a facility in Laplace, Louisiana. Legendary hot dog eating champion Joey Chestnut will not return to the Coney Island competition this year. The professional eater signed a deal with Impossible Foods, a company that makes plant-based foods, including hot dogs. And the event sponsor, Nathan's Hot Dogs, said that he can't participate in the annual 4th of July contest because he would be representing a rival brand. First responders arrived to an unusual scene on an Ohio highway. A truck carrying pigs overturned, spilling the hogs onto the roadway. Officials worked to corral the animals back to their trailer.
Apple says it will bring AI technology to billions of devices, which means we'll soon have the ability for artificial intelligence to edit the tone of our emails to our liking and so much more. Our Janae Norman has a closer look at the latest announcement.
The power of artificial intelligence in your pocket.
Introducing Apple Intelligence, the new personal intelligence system that makes your most personal products even more useful and delightful.
Apple announcing what it says will be game-changing updates, generative AI called Apple Intelligence, to be integrated across its devices. The company changing everything from how you write emails to what Siri can do for you.
AI really understanding your habits, where you go to restaurants,
which friends are maybe prioritized over others or family members. It's an AI brain now coming to Siri that Apple's introducing.
Take photos, for example. You can use Siri to search your camera roll for certain images or find a specific moment in a video.
You'll be able to say, show me my photos of Stacy in New York wearing her pink coat. And Siri will bring those right up.
You can be more animated, messaging friends with different tap-back emojis and Genmojis, which you can create in Apple's new image playground. The new AI operating system will also include software that will write and proofread emails and notes, even changing the tone of something you've written.
This is great for making sure your cover letter for that job you're excited for lands perfectly.
Apps will also see upgrades, like math notes on iPads, where you'll be able to solve a problem by just writing down the equation, which may raise some eyebrows.
The concern, especially when it comes to kids around academics, it's going to be a headache for teachers, for administrators.
And Siri is now more in tune to you than ever.
When you talk to Siri, you'll notice it's more deeply integrated into the system experience with this elegant glowing light that wraps around the edge of your screen.
Apple also announcing its partnership with OpenAI, allowing users to do searches on Apple, accessing ChatGPT. CEO Sam Altman saying the partnership is making it easier for people to benefit from what AI can offer.
Exciting and terrifying at the same time. Our thanks to Janae Norman. Tonight news, a local breakfast club has won a massive Powerball jackpot. 3 players from Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, who call themselves the Breakfast Club, won more than $842 million. It was the New Year's Day drawing. The details just revealed. They plan to share their wealth with family and charities and lots of breakfasts. We're joined next by rock band royalty. Imagine Dragons has crushed music records since emerging in 2009. They're the only band to earn 4 diamond singles from the Recording Industry Association of America, and 10 of their songs have been streamed more than 1 billion times. Now they're celebrating the release of their new single, Nice to Meet You. Here's a taste.
Anyway, it's nice to meet you. Anyway, it's nice to meet you.
That track joins 8 others on their much-anticipated 6th studio album, Loom. And to tell us all about it, Imagine Dragons lead vocalist Dan Reynolds. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's start out with this new album. If we can show the album cover, want to get a sense of what's looming. And is that a sunrise, a new day for Imagine Dragons, or is the sun setting?
I'm really glad you noticed that. It's supposed to be up to the viewer's discretion. Sunrise, sunset, end of something, beginning of something. The album really dives into kind of those concepts, so we felt like that was the right idea. And it's also very summer-esque. So, yeah.
Now, you've said that this album is heavy and playful at the same time. How so?
I'm a pretty up and down person, very bipolar, high, low, low. So I think just by the nature of that, I would come into the studio some days and be in a great place and write a really summery, happy song. And some days, kind of the opposite spectrum. I don't really sit here as much. I wish I did. But I don't really.
Are you going for the same vibe as far as what you'd like viewers to take away from the sound as you are with the visual, that it's kind of up for them, up for grabs, what they take away from it?
Yeah, that's always my goal. I really never try to write a song having any expectation. I want people to hear what they need from it. 2 people can hear a song and take away completely different things. Oftentimes they'll hear the wrong lyrics, and they'll hear the lyrics that they wanted to hear. I'll have so many people come up and be like, man, for 5 years, they thought the lyrics were this and they're not. And I won't correct them, because I'm like, yeah, that's what it needs to be for you.
Okay, for you.
Those incorrect lyrics,
You all took a break last year. Rarely something that you do, but you went back to the studio and now kind of have a new sound. What would you say influenced that new sound?
On our last record, we worked with Rick Rubin as a producer, and he was It's incredibly hands-on, and I love Rick, and we didn't work with him on this record. We worked with a different producer, so that alone kind of changes things, right? You have someone else in the room who's kind of helping you navigate. I always write my own melody and lyrics, but a producer can really do a lot with the band and as far as kind of tempering you. So I think, you know, and we wrote it at a time period where a lot had changed in my life, so thus kind of looming, the name of the album, Loom. What's to come? Is it good? Is it bad? It's a little bit of both, I think. Yeah.
In 2017, you created a festival called Love Loud.
Yeah.
Tell us why you created it and what it's about.
I grew up in a really religious home. I was Mormon, and one thing that I saw from a very young age is with Orthodox religion, it really is a difficult place for a gay kid to grow up. I had a lot of friends who were in the LGBTQ community and were also Mormon, and that was a really divided place for them to be and really unhealthy. So I ended up starting a festival with one of my dear friends, Tyler Glenn, who's the singer of Neon Trees, who's out and proud, but didn't come out till much later in his life. He was Mormon as well. And so we decided to start a festival to raise funds for other LGBTQ charities that do life-saving work, like the Trevor Project, and also put on a festival in Utah for Mormons to gather and talk about, hey, something needs to change. The suicide rate amongst LGBTQ youth in Utah primarily is very high. 7 times more likely to take their life when not accepted in their home or community. So there's a problem there, and we've been trying to do our part to help.
And you really do take pride in really creating this safe space for those in the LGBTQ+ community. How would you like to see, ideally, this evolve in the next few years?
You know, we've started to, it's not just Utah that has Orthodox faith and LGBTQ kids and them being at odds. There's a lot of places in the U.S. that need help, so we've started to branch out. We just started playing in Texas, putting on a festival there. We just played last night in New York, D.C., so we're starting to branch out a little bit, but we wanted to make sure that we were actually making a difference in Utah when we started years back, and it's been an incredible experience.
Dan, so appreciate you coming by to tell us what's looming. And we want to let our viewers know that you can listen to the new album, Loom, out June 28th, and their biggest North American tour to date kicks off on June 30th. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Lindsay Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Coming up in the next hour, a major settlement linked to a long civil war ordered to be paid out by banana company Chiquita, how they're linked to the case. And they were once Hollywood's most sought-after actors, now a member of the so-called Brat Pack, looks back at their influence.
If you could have a Brat Pack name not exist, would you? I hated the Brat Pack. What a disaster.
Why did we take it as an offense? Andrew?
GMA surprised people across the country, helping find thousands in unclaimed money.
This really is a big check. Yeah!
And this summer, we're at it again.
That's incredible.
Because nothing's better than hearing you say,
"Show me the money!"
on Good Morning America.
If you could describe Diddy in one word, what would it be?
Mogul.
Powerful.
Hustler. Broken. And I feel like that's I feel kind saying that.
He definitely reached the mountaintop, and it seems like he's falling from it.
Disturbing video that shows Sean Diddy Combs kicking, shoving, and dragging his ex-girlfriend.
She was scared of him.
I think so.
Were you scared of him?
Yeah. My sense was that everybody around him was afraid of him.
Afraid of Sean Combs?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he's explosive.
Diddy's Downfall, now streaming on Hulu.
All right, let the dogs out, please.
I don't think he's gonna give you a hard time.
Even if he gives me a hard time, I'm the right guy.
You can handle it.
I want to make sure that we all learn together.
Calm, confident.
Calm, confident, calm, surrender.
Everything that he's taught has become a reality.
Yeah.
We are so grateful and impressed.
I feel like crying. You changed our world.
It is a beautiful thing to see. As you rehabilitate the dog, you also rehabilitate you.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters.
Is this our combat operations center?
We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions.
Operational nuclear reactor.
So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it.
Not a tear in it.
How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love this.
Great work.
Hi.
Where are you? Where are you?
Appreciate you.
Thank you, David. Good to meet you.
Ismail? David.
David.
Yes, yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
I watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
Are you ready to celebrate? Sunday, June 30th, across the country. See, experience some of the nation's greatest Pride celebrations all in one place as they happen live right here on ABC News Live. Pride across America. Celebrate joy, love, freedom, and pride. Sunday, June 30th, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Streaming on ABC News Live and stream on Hulu.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We have a lot of news to get to tonight, but we begin with the historic verdict. Hunter Biden found guilty of 3 felony gun charges, becoming the first child of a sitting president convicted of a crime. The jury found that he lied on a federal form when he said he wasn't using drugs at the time he purchased a Colt revolver in October of 2018. The president back home in Delaware tonight and embracing his son, writing, "I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today." Rachel Scott joins us from the White House. But first, here's Terry Moran from the courthouse.
After 3 hours of deliberations, the jury in Hunter Biden's federal criminal trial reached a verdict. The defendant raced back to the courthouse to hear guilty on all 3 felony counts for lying about his drug use on a gun application in 2018 and for possessing a gun while abusing drugs, the first ever criminal convictions for the child of a sitting U.S. president. At first, Hunter Biden appeared stunned when he heard the word guilty. Then he nodded, patted his lawyer on the back, and hugged his legal team and his wife. Moments later, Hunter walked out of the courthouse, hand in hand with his wife Melissa on one side and his mother, the First Lady, on the other, determined to show her support. The First Lady was in that courtroom nearly every day of the trial, missing just 1 day for the D-Day ceremonies in Normandy before flying right back to Delaware. Minutes after court adjourned, a statement from President Biden acknowledging the verdict. "I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. So many families who have had loved ones battle addiction understand the feeling of pride, seeing someone you love come out the other side and be so strong and resilient in recovery. And I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change that." Moments after the verdict, I met with juror number 10 in the garage. He revealed a remarkable scene inside the jury room when they started deliberating. A jury split right down the middle, 6 and 6.
Believe it or not, it was a split vote.
6-6.
6-6.
That was the first vote.
That was the first vote.
But all that changed when they talked it over. Juror 10 says Hunter Biden knew he was an addict when he filled out that background check. Some of the critical evidence for him, Hunter's own text message sent the day after he bought that gun, saying he was waiting for a dealer named Mookie.
If you're an addict, you're an addict.
Right.
This is something that sticks with you for the rest of your life.
So you didn't buy the notion that for those few days around the purchase of the gun, he wasn't abusing drugs?
No, not at all.
Juror number 8, Elijah Lewis Guy, agrees.
For you, as juror, what was the most important evidence for you?
The important evidence was the form, what he put down in the form at that moment, and knowing his history, that he was a user addict.
And as for the historic nature of this trial?
You do know that you convicted the president's son. How do you feel about that?
I don't care. I shouldn't say that. It's unfortunate that he's convicted, But him being the son is not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that he did a bad thing, and actions have consequences.
Today, the special counsel who led the investigation into Hunter Biden, the U.S. attorney appointed by former President Trump and kept on the case by the Biden administration, said even Hunter Biden isn't above the law.
This case was about the illegal choices defendant made while in the throes of addiction, his choice to lie on a government form when he bought a gun, and the choice to then possess that gun.
President Biden also said today he will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal, echoing what he told David last week in Normandy.
As we sit here in Normandy, your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Tonight, the president arriving back in Delaware, greeted by Hunter and his wife and their son, Beau. For Hunter Biden, it was a long day of reckoning. He faces a maximum of 25 years in prison, though experts say he's unlikely to receive anything like that. And it was also, for a man who says he has finally made it out from the darkness of his addictions, a day of gratitude. I am more grateful today for the love and support I experienced this last week from Melissa, my family, my friends, and my community than I am disappointed by the outcome. Recovery is possible by the grace of God, and I am blessed to experience that gift one day at a time.
Seemingly trying to take it in stride. Our thanks to Terry for that. 8 migrants from Tajikistan in Central Asia who entered the U.S. illegally through the border with Mexico have been arrested in Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and New York, all suspected of having ties to ISIS. Aaron Katursky has the details.
Tonight, 8 migrants from Central Asia who entered the United States illegally through the southern border are in federal custody over suspected ties to the terror group ISIS. The individuals from the former Soviet Republic of Tajikistan came to the U.S. since the end of last year. They were vetted at the time. Law enforcement sources told ABC News authorities then uncovered information raising suspicions about possible affiliations with ISIS. At least some of the individuals were monitored, and eventually all were detained in New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. The FBI has specifically warned Islamist radicals might try to access the United States from the Mexican border.
There is a particular network where some of the overseas facilitators of the smuggling network have ISIS ties that we're very concerned about.
Earlier this year, Russia arrested migrants from Tajikistan in connection with an attack on a concert hall outside Moscow that killed scores of people.
Our thanks to Aaron Katursky. Next tonight, the secret recordings of Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, Justice Samuel Alito, and Alito's wife. What the audio reveals, and the woman who recorded the conversations is defending herself tonight. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the new secret undercover audio revealing comments from 2 Supreme Court justices. Liberal filmmaker Lauren Windsor allegedly taping conversations with Justice Samuel Alito and Chief Justice John Roberts while posing as a Christian conservative at a gala earlier this month in an apparent effort to engage them in a culture wars debate. ABC News has not authenticated the audio, and it appears the clips posted by Windsor on social media have been edited. In one recording, Windsor poses a leading question to Alito, a staunch conservative and a devout Catholic, about the political divide in this country.
I don't know that we can negotiate with the left in the way that needs to happen for the polarization to end. I think that it's a matter of winning.
I think you're probably right. I think one side or the other is going to win. I don't know. I mean, there can be a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be compromised.
Windsor continues to press Alito.
I think that the solution really is winning the moral argument. People in this country who believe in God have got to keep fighting for that, to return our country to a place of godliness.
Oh, I agree with you.
At the same dinner, Windsor approaches Chief Justice Roberts, who's known as a moderate conservative, suggesting to him that America is a Christian nation. Roberts allegedly pushing back.
Yeah, I don't know that we live in a Christian nation. I know a lot of Jewish and Muslim friends who would say maybe not. And it's not our job to do that. It's our job to decide the cases as best we can.
But the recordings also shine a spotlight on the wife of Samuel Alito, recently embroiled in controversy after photos of two flags carried by some Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, flown at their homes, were published by the New York Times. Martha Ann Alito allegedly complaining about having to look at pride flags.
You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the pride flag for the next month.
We spoke to the woman behind the recordings about her tactics, which some have characterized as misleading. She says she understands the criticism she's facing, but asks how else the public can get answers from the justices.
I really felt that it was the only way I was going to be able to get any information. The Supreme Court is shrouded in secrecy.
Our thanks to Pierre Thomas. Tonight, there's a flash flood threat in Florida, and record heat is spreading across the country. Up to 20 inches of rain are on the way to parts of southern Florida, with Hollywood, Florida already getting pelted by heavy rain today. Our chief meteorologist, Ginger Z, is tracking it all for us. Hey, Ginger.
Hey, Lindsay, this is day 1 of 4 for a lot of folks in South Florida. So, yes, up to 4 inches in Miami-Dade County already, up to 5 inches around Fort Myers. And it's them to Naples that has kind of the target. So flood watches are up for much of South Florida, West Palm's included as well. But we're going to end up seeing anywhere south of Orlando picking up anywhere from 3 to 6 inches. And then again, kind of that hot spot there of 10 to 20 inches when all is said and done by Friday. It's going to come in rounds. There will be breaks, but it's going to be heavy at times. It's really tapping into some deep tropical moisture. So, and even a chance of something becoming tropical as we get into hurricane season, but more about the heavy rain. Then we have to talk record heat because it's already moved into parts of Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, through the midweek and beyond. You're going to see records possible there, 100 for Pueblo, Albuquerque 101. That'll move east, and even here in New York City, we could end up close to 90, which would be the first 90 of the season, a couple weeks behind schedule. But records possible, Roanoke, Atlanta, also Raleigh. And then that is nothing compared to what's going to come in next week. This looks like serious summer heat. Talking upper 90s possible, if not 100. Records will be falling as we head through Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week, Lindsay.
Wow, potential triple digits in the Northeast already. All right, Ginger Z, our thanks to you. Still much more to get to tonight coming up. They were the biggest stars of a generation, but decades later, what does that mean? And how do they feel about it? Andrew McCarthy tells us about his new Brat Pack documentary. But next, a new portrait of King Charles is targeted by vandals, the activist group behind it.
Whenever news breaks,
we are here in Israel, a nation at war after that brutal surprise attack by Hamas.
On the ground in Ukraine, reporting from Lewiston, Maine.
The scene of a horrific mass shooting.
ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
In Rolling Fork, this tornado tore through this little town.
From the most devastating disaster in Hawaii.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail.
In Iceland, let's go.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
From the front lines.
From southern Israel.
Outside the Gaza Strip.
In Beirut.
From the FBI.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there.
You're streaming
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
I'm Anthony Mackie. Like most fishermen, sharks used to terrify me. If the shark gets too close, I should hit it in the nose.
Well, you don't need to hit it.
I'm on a quest to find out why these apex predators, that's amazing, are swiping fishermen's hard-earned catches. What? You saw that? Shark Beach with Anthony Mackie.
Woo! That's our fish. Look at that.
Part of the sharkiest 4-week celebration this summer. Shark Fest starts June 30th at 9 on National Geographic.
They call him the Beauty Queen Killer. He's targeting young women in malls.
I am single. I want to enjoy the company of a member of women.
He tortured me.
How did she survive 9 days of terror?
The word accomplice came up. Nobody knows the real story.
The Beauty Queen Killer. Only on Hulu.
Reporting from the Capitol, I'm Rachel Scott. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back. We're tracking several headlines around the world. First to Malawi, where remains of Vice President Solos Chilima were flown back home to the nation's capital this evening. He and 9 others were killed on impact when their military plane crashed. That's according to Malawi's president. Chilima was widely expected to be a candidate in Malawi's presidential election next year. And now to Colombia. Banana giant Chiquita Brands must pay $38.3 million to 16 family members of people killed during Colombia's long Civil War. That's the determination of a federal jury in Florida. They were victims of a violent right-wing parliamentary group funded by the company between 1997 and 2004. The verdict marks a rare finding that blames a private U.S. company for human rights abuses in another country. And the new official portrait of King Charles III was vandalized by an animal rights group at a London art gallery. The group Animals Rising called it a, quote, comic redecoration to highlight violations in how animals are treated. No damage was done to either the painting or the glass that covered it. The 1980s was a time of blockbuster movie hits like The Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, St. Elmo's Fire, and 16 Candles. The actors in these films were branded as the Brat Pack. However, the actors most associated with the Brat Pack movies often had a tumultuous relationship with that term. Now, actor and director Andrew McCarthy takes a deeper dive into that phase of his life and its impact on Hollywood. Let's take a look at a clip from his new documentary, Brats.
My understanding, you were not interested in talking about the Brat Pack for years and years.
I'm asked to do retrospectives all the time, whether it's Repo Man or The Outsiders or Young Guns or Breakfast Club. I turn everything down.
How come you're talking to me?
Because you called me. Because you asked.
Love that clip. Joining us now, Andrew McCarthy himself. Thank you so much for joining us.
Nice to be here.
So you really kind of take on this kind of investigative reporter role, connecting the dots, reaching out to the old friends. What made you decide to do this?
Well, several years ago, I wrote a book about my experience of that time in the 80s because it was such a life-changing experience, and it was a seminal time for me. It changed who I became. And when I finished the book, I kind of realized my feelings about it had changed, moved probably 180 degrees. I hated the term at first. I didn't like it. And then I'd grown to sort of embrace it as probably the biggest professional gift of my life. And so I thought I would go seek out the other members of the gang, because there were only a few people in this club, you know, and we're the only ones that, well, I don't know how exclusive, but we were the only ones who had it happen, it happened to. So I just thought I'd get their take on what it was, you know, and it was really surprising and interesting, liberating, really.
What was the issue with the term in the beginning, and what prompted you to really evolve over time to ultimately embrace it?
Well, I think it was a combination of different cultural events that were happening, because it was in the early, mid-'80s when youth movies just took over in a way they never had been before. You know, it's a seismic cultural shift. It's hard for us to realize now because all movies are sort of geared toward a young adolescent mentality. But back then it wasn't the case, and this was the beginning of that. And then, you know, this article came along that branded us as the Brat Pack, and so there was suddenly a handle you could grab onto, and it just became, it caught fire, the term, because it's such a witty, clever term. And so, you know, and it was sort of disparaging and negative when who wants to be called a brat, who wants to be lumped in a pack and all that. And so at first we, you know, recoiled from it. But the public was, I think, a lot smarter than us and realized right away that, like, we represented them, you know, for that generation up there. And we were like the cool kids. And so they always embraced it. And it took me just a lot longer than them to realize that, you know, this was an amazing thing.
It was such really an iconic era of films, and I think that people have this, at least those who are outside of the Hollywood circles, this idea, maybe romanticized, that, oh, those characters are really friends in real life and they hang out and spend time together during the movies and after, but kind of hip us to the game of how that really might not be true.
Well, I mean, I think we just sort of all worked together, and then when that was done, we all went home. But we did represent that kind of, you know, because also movies before that were about sort of largely romantic love. It was about you and me get together, and then we break up, and then we get back together. And that's the movie. But those movies put friendship at the center. And that was new at that time. You know, Friends hadn't existed yet. St. Elmo's Fire is just a precursor to Friends. It's just about a group of kids who just graduated college, and they all hang out together. And, you know, would Friends have happened without the Brat Pack? Yeah, probably, but we drove a truck through that to open it up for people, and we forget that now.
You've done a book now. You've done a movie on it.
I know, it's just relentless, isn't it?
Is it healing? Is it cathartic? Is it nostalgic? How would you describe the process?
I mean, I would say it's more liberating than anything else. It was a period I ran from and sort of stuffed under a rock and sort of finally look under the rock and experience it from my own perspective was one thing. Okay, let's figure out what I feel about it. But then to go connect with you or whoever else, those people that shared it with me, then you have a sense of community about it. And then once we have a sense of community, we're not so isolated, we're not so alone. I mean, that's what's so powerful about movies. That's why those kids loved us, because they saw us, and they saw themselves in us. So suddenly they're not alone and they're not isolated anymore, and they can identify with Molly Ringwald's feelings of isolation or whatever, and so especially in that time of late adolescence or something, it's a real seismic time in your life. You're blossoming, you're coming of age, and people often feel very separate and different, and we allowed them to sort of feel seen.
Andrew McCarthy, you said it best. Thank you so much for coming by. Really appreciate it. Want to let our viewers know Bratz starts streaming on Hulu Thursday, June 13th. And still to come, it was one of the biggest scandals in college basketball history, revealing a world of bribery and corruption. Guy Lawson gives us a closer look at the bombshells.
Coming of age in the 1980s, the Brat Pack was near the center of your cultural awareness. But for those of us experiencing it from the inside, the Brat Pack was something very different.
I'm really sorry that article had to come out.
I just remember seeing that cover and thinking, oh. So I thought it might be interesting to try and contact everyone who was in the Brat Pack. You were not interested in talking about the Brat Pack.
I turned everything down.
How come you're talking to me?
Because it was time that we clear the air on a couple of things.
Whoa. I hated the Brat Pack for decades. What a disaster.
Why did we take it as an offense?
We're afraid we were brats, Andrew?
I'm not going to say we were the Beatles or anything.
Well, we didn't fill Shea Stadium. There were moments.
We could have. 1985, I think we could have.
I experienced a lot of rejection, a lot of heartache. I'm a tough woman, but it's not easy. You're gonna feel lonely. There was a lot of personal stuff in my life that was really falling apart. But Mom and Daddy didn't raise no quitter.
Not everybody makes it.
It's taken me a really long time to even get to this moment.
The CMA Award for Album of the Year for Female Vocalist of the Year.
Entertainer of the Year
Goes to Lainey
Wilson.
That was a mic drop.
The Entertainer of the Year, baby! What she is doing right now is changing country music.
I'm proud of myself. I really am. I have worked my ass off. Now it's time to see what's next. I do see the bell bottoms and the hat as my superhero outfit.
Operation Ballers broke in 2017 and remains one of the biggest scandals in college basketball history. 10 convictions later, it revealed a world of bribery and corruption, ensnaring major college programs and even sportswear companies. In the middle of it all was a Pittsburgh-based financial advisor, the late Marty Blazer. Blazer's story is told in Guy Lawson's new book, Hot Dog Money, Inside the Biggest Scandal in the History of College Sports. Blazer first managed money for high-profile NFL clients and was indicted for allegedly taking their money in order to fund his own investments, but he eventually became a cooperating witness, immersing himself in the world of college basketball. Blazer passed away in January and told his story to Guy Lawson, who joins us now. Thank you so much, Mr. Lawson, for coming on. So Marty Blazer passed away in January.
Yeah.
Prior to that, he entrusts you to tell his story. Why do you think that was?
Well, Marty sought me out, actually. That doesn't happen very often, but he wanted not a sports writer, but someone who understood corruption and crime, and I have a record of writing about that. And I think he also knew that I had a record of writing about people doing bad things in a non-judgmental way. Let the reader figure out what they think, not be the author judge.
Tell us about the title, Hot Dog Money. What does that mean?
So the first time Marty decided he wanted to represent professional athletes, he went out to see a football player in Pittsburgh, and the kid showed him his reel of highlights. He went on to be an NFL player. And at the end of the session, he said, "Hey, Blaze," which became his nickname, Marty's nickname. "Hey, Blaze, you got any hot dog money?" And Marty didn't need to be told twice what that meant, so he gave him a few $100, and then from then on, that became his catch cry for handing money to college kids. And basically every kid he ever represented and every player he ever worked with, in one form or another, got hot dog money.
At a certain point, did you ever change your mind? Did you ever have thoughts about the scandal prior to hearing Marty's story?
I heard about it, yeah. It was in the press, and I'd seen a documentary on HBO about it. And so I'd seen how Marty was portrayed as this kind of scammy guy who was only out for himself and avoided prison, and these coaches went to prison instead. But there's a much more complicated story, and Marty was really trying to do some good in the world as well. I think that the surprising thing in the story is the percentage, just the degree of corruption in college sports. 100% of the coaches offered bribery money, accepted the money from the FBI. So there was, it shows a system in free fall as we're seeing unfold in the last couple of years.
It seems like beyond cooperating with the FBI investigation, at some point he really became deeply committed to exposing what some might say was the shady underbelly of college sports. What caused that?
Well, I think that Marty began to see what was happening as human trafficking. These kids were being trafficked by their coaches, by these sneaker companies, they're teenagers. Their parents oftentimes think they're sophisticated, but they're really not. And there's just so many ways to take advantage of these kids, and many of them come from underprivileged circumstances. So I think Marty saw it as a way to reform the system, and he tried to tell the NCAA how to do that, and they just didn't want to hear. And so you're seeing now in these settlement offerings and these lawsuits, the NCAA desperately trying to figure out how to stay in business when really the whole business model is broken.
Prior to the book coming out, we heard now that the NCAA, along with the powerhouse conferences, have agreed that they're going to pay these athletes for playing. What do you think Marty would have thought about that? Progress? Not enough.
He would have thought, if your opening offer is $2.8 billion, where are you going to land? $280 billion? He would have thought it was ridiculous. He would have seen it for what it is. It's like this desperate attempt to keep the system working when the system's a problem. Marty wanted, above all else, for the NCAA to be charged with protecting the kids. Right now, it works for the colleges, it works for the sneaker companies, it works for itself. It's a self-perpetuating, high-paid job. It doesn't have any function when it comes to protecting kids. That's why the NIL thing, this name, image, likeness, is completely unregulated. Putting these teenage kids out to be preyed upon by these booster clubs, and you're already starting to see that corruption creep into this new system. So it's really it's a foundational thing that Marty was looking for, I think.
Guy Lawson, we thank you so much for your time. Want to let our viewers know Hot Dog Money, Inside the Biggest Scandal in the History of College Sports, is now available wherever books are sold. And that is our show for tonight. I'm Lindsay Davis. ABC News Live is here for you all night with the latest news, context, and analysis. You can always find us on Hulu, Roku, Pluto TV, the ABC News app, and of course on abcnews.com. The news never stops. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.
Here's to Good Mornings in America.
Can you feel the love?
Oh, yeah. Mornings that inspire, filled with hope, kindness, joyous surprises, and so much fun.
This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
Start your day with Good Morning America's Ray of Sunshine, highlighting the best of America and helping
make dreams come true. Wow. I'm just so happy. It's so good.
Get ready to smile and put the good into your morning, America, because...
You know what will make the morning better? A little ray of sunshine.
Hi, I'm Andy.
And I'm Sabrina. And we're moms.